welcome to my video. I'm so excited that you found yourself right here on this video. We're going to be talking about the outside environment. My name is Miss Emily. I've been in childcare for over 10 years to date, and it is July of 2018, so 10 years in. I have my own family childcare business, which is Christian based, and I've had it for the complete 10 years as well. Now I'm just so excited that I am entering into the mentoring stage as well as continuing being a provider in this dynamic field of childcare. So I wanted to focus in on the outside environment because the outside environment is a very important aspect of what we do and what we provide for the children. Let's talk about what the research tells us when children are outside and with nature. Research shows us that they develop strong awareness, reasoning, and observation skills. Children are more creative and imaginative, which leads to innovation. They have a higher physical activity and a stronger immune system. Children also develop more advanced motor skills, such as balance, agility, and coordination. And it also lowers their stress levels. Can you believe it that children also deal with stress? Us who've been in the field for a while, we do see where children have those stress levels, and when you go outside, it does help lower the stress levels. So that was a great point that I found with research. And then also that it helps the children to be interactive with others, and it develops the strength in their social development skills. So outside, based on the research, the outside environment is very important for the children to be in, as well as for it to be a healthy environment for them, something that is going to enhance and provide quality care for them during that time when they're outside. Some providers have scaled back on their outside activities or have totally taken outside away, but outside is part of the development that not only children need, but we all need to be able to be outside in our natural elements, the world that we live in. So we need to bring this back into the child care field and really understand the importance of the outside space. After doing my research, I came up with 10 key features. And I have listed them for you, and they're not in any particular order based on what's more important than the other. So we're going to go ahead and start with the first 5. It's going to be open space, the play equipment, natural elements, risk and challenge, and will toys. So this is the first 5 key features for a quality outside environment. So when you think about the open space, in the open space, that's going to give the children the ability to do running, jumping, crawling, and even rolling. You can bring in items for them to use in this open space, such as balls, bean bags. They can use ribbons, hoops, anything to that nature in that space. And what this does is it allows the children to learn object control skills when you bring in those items. Then with the other being open and them being able to do the running and jumping or crawling and rolling, that's going to develop different large muscles in their bodies. So open space is definitely a good idea to have in your outside environment. The second key feature is play equipment. So with the play equipment, I incorporated 2 different type of equipment for the outside space. This is going to be climbing structures, slides, different structures such as playhouses, and also gazebos. I included the gazebos because in the gazebos, that allows for shaded areas. You can also, of course, have large shaded trees, but gazebos add in shade, and having a quality outside environment includes having shade for the children. And in those shaded areas, what you will see is that the children are going to begin to socialize, and language development is taking place through those socialization as well as socialization. And then the play equipment allow for the same thing, for socializing, which is enhancing their language development. And then, have you ever noticed something? When you have your play structures out there, or your gazebos are out there, and those are always there. So there's times when you'll notice that your children tend not to utilize some of the spaces because they have lost their creativity for that area, or their imagination. It's just not drawing them into that area. So let me tell you a trick that you can use to help re-engage the children, and this is going to be adding different props to those areas and changing out those props on a regular basis, so that way it sparks an imagination for the children and it keeps them interested in that area. So let me give you an example. You have the playhouse and they use it as a house. You can set up props in there to make it into a doctor's office. It can become a vet office. It can become the barn for the farm animals. You can make it even into a drive-through restaurant. So in America, a lot of the children are very familiar with drive-through restaurants, that experience. And you can make it into that just by changing the props up a little bit. Play equipment, key feature. Third key feature, natural elements. You're in the outside environment, so of course you want to bring in as many natural elements as possible. This is going to be things such as trees, plants, rocks, grass, water, dirt, sand, and even tree stumps. Natural elements are pleasing for the children. It's a stress reliever. It fosters problem solving. It develops their curiosity and awareness of the natural world which they reside in. It's science at its best, and it's exciting to see the different things that they'll develop and they'll learn through these elements. Number 4, risk and challenge. This is balance beams, stepping stones, different types of obstacles. The reason this is a key feature is because it creates a sense of risk for the children that builds their confidence when they master that skill. So you have a balance beam and there is a child that is learning how to walk forward, but they're always tipping off. But then once they continue to practice and do it over and over and over again, and they finally master it, their confidence is boosted up to where they even will start walking backwards. So it's a confidence booster. With risk and challenge, we make it feel risk and challenging to the child, with safety always as the first priority. So you have a balance beam, and you're not going to have it high off the ground to where they're going to fall and injure themselves. And depending on the height of it, you're going to have the correct padding underneath it to protect any type of injury. So the risk and challenge is key to incorporate into your space, so that the children are trying new things, trying out different ways of using their body, and then they build in their confidence. Okay, the 5th key feature is wheeled toys. So wheeled toys are going to include tricycles, scooters, wagons, push toys. The wheel toys, incorporating different type of wheel toys also is important, because then that way it will allow children to, it will challenge the children with different ability levels. It also is developing large muscles, and it's going to begin to develop it in different ways, because running will develop it one way compared to riding a bicycle and pedaling. So it develops their large muscles in different categories on their bodies. Wheel toys is a great also to add into your environment. And the thing that we do here is that at my school, I require that all of my children wear bike helmets. And so all my parents are required to provide a bike helmet for their child that's properly fitted to their child, and they have to replace it as they age up to another level, or their size is increased to a different size. So the reason we do that is, one, it teaches safety for the children, and two, it is safer for the children. One thing I want to mention also about bike helmets, if you do like the idea of incorporating that into your program, make sure that the bike helmets are only used in the wheel-toed area. So you should have a designated area where the wheel toys are going to be utilized, and the bike helmets are used only there, because there have been reports of deaths with children wearing their bike helmets on play structures and it getting caught and strangling them. We don't want that, so make sure bike helmets are only used in the bike area or where the wheel toys are. And the other thing is that if you're concerned about how it's going to affect the children by introducing the bike helmets when you haven't had them before, they catch on real quick. We have a catchy phrase. We say, no helmet, no bike. No helmet, no bike. And so they know. So if they're getting on that bike and they don't have their helmet, we would say, no helmet, no bike. And instantly they knew, okay, where's my helmet? Where's my helmet? And all of our helmets are labeled, so they don't share helmets or anything like that. And after about 2 days of us doing the new helmet whirl, they have it down packed. So if they want to ride a bike, they know to go get their bike helmet. Okay, moving on to the next 5 key features for the quality outside environment. Number 6, I'm gonna go ahead and just tell you them, and then we'll go back and go through each one. Number 6, sand and water play. 7, mud at ground level. 8, music and movement. 9, flowers and plants. And then 10, loose parts. Sand and water play area is encouraging peer interaction with the children and adding the props that are going to expand those interactions. And it's also going to draw on reasoning for the children, and it's going to bring those skills up to the forefront with the sand and water play area, as well as adding in different props for that space. It's going to just continue to encourage them to problem solve and use their imagination and to interact with one another, which is going to build their language development. And what can you do when you have water play and it's like the water table and you're like, oh my gosh, as a provider, you know that you're going to have a couple children soaking wet from the water, and so you tend to draw away from the water. I understand. So, let me give you an idea of something that's simple, and it's not very likely for someone to come fully drenched after outside time. And that is painting with water. So painting with water, the children seem to really enjoy it while they're developing their hand and eye coordination and dexterity for writing. Then it becomes a science thing and a cause and effect, because they'll paint it and then they'll notice that it's gone away. And then you can begin with your open-ended questions about evaporation or the heat, or when it's cold, why it doesn't disappear as quickly as it does in the summertime. So it just can expand on so many different areas when you even encounter just painting with water. It's something very simple, and it's not too intense for overload on being drenched and having to have full change of clothes. 7th key feature, digging in mud. So this is the mud at ground level. The reason I like mud at ground level is because it also is going to develop those non-locomotor skills of the children's bodies, because they're going to be bending and squatting. And then mud is normally found down on the ground, so that also helps to give the realism of mud being down on the ground. And so for me, we have to come up with a different strategy because we only have cement. So we have to come up with a different strategy to create a mud pit and put it and have it down on the ground for them. So they can do that bending over and squatting. And with the mud, they're going to be exposed to more science by finding different insects and earthworms within it. And then they'll also be able to dig and do different interactions depending on what type of props you introduced into that area. Number 8, the music and movement. You need to have music and movement outside. 1, hello, it's outside, so they can be super loud. So music and movement. This is going to be things such as wind chimes, old pots and pans, buckets, tins, bells, anything you can think of. I've even seen PVC pipes, and then they get little sticks, and they can have the PVC pipes up on the fence, screwed into the fence, and they make music with the sticks up against the different PVC pipes. This is a great place for music and the movement because they can be very loud outside. It's open, so it expands. They're learning how to explore with natural sounds. They're composing music individually or even collaboratively. The children are able to become more expressive, and then they can move with it. They can do dancing with it. So it becomes a whole new place, classroom outdoors. The 9th key feature is going to be flowers and plants. This is great for sensory. It's going to bring in a variety of smells and textures for the children to explore. And then on top of that, it's aesthetically a nice feature to have in the outside space. And it's going to bring in the different types of insects and different types of birds are going to come in depending on what type of flowers and plants you are adding into that space. And then finally, loose parts. Loose parts are amazing. If you are not quite sure about it, you can Google loose parts theory. Those are 2 great ways to Google on it. But this is going to be open-ended type of items and props to utilize in the outside space. So one is, depending on the age category, you can do nuts and bolts. But if you have like younger ones and you're worried about choking, you can get the big nuts and bolts like that they would use on large machinery, large boats, different things like that. You can get those type of nuts and bolts so they can piece them together. You can get different PVC pipes, different sizes, lots of different things for building materials. You can use pine cones, building blocks, logs. You can even get different types of recycle and reusable items. That's awesome. That they can use all of these different loose parts in various ways. What it does is it promotes constructive play for the children, and it develops their fine and gross motor skills. So loose parts is absolutely a great addition to have for your outside environment. These are the 10 key features after doing my research for the outside space environment. I hope this has been helpful to you and inspiring to you. Please share your ideas. If anything that I mentioned made you want to go and check out your outside space and add it or see if you can make some changes to it, please let me know. I would love to hear of any suggestions that you have, anything that you might want to hear on the next recording that I do. Hey, share it with me. Keep on going and making a difference in those children's lives, because if it wasn't for you, those children wouldn't be in that quality program that you're providing to them. So keep making that difference and getting them ready for the next stage of their life. Looking forward to talking to you on the next one. Bye for now.